Once upon a time, I used to have feedbacks for breakfast, approvals for lunch, and for dinner, I would digest and absorb these feedbacks into tiny bits of who people expect me to be. I did this over and over again until I mastered the art of people pleasing. Yes, I was a people pleaser, but for a long time I struggled to accept this identity. I struggled to accept that a lot of my behaviors were rooted in people pleasing. In my head, I was being kind and nice, but before my 21st birthday, I had an epiphany. I had just read the book, Why You Act the Way You Do. In this book, he explained the complex interaction between our inherited traits and environmental factors and how they significantly influence our behavior. He talked about how you can improve yourself by understanding your temperament and why you act the way you do. I would say it was after this moment I began to understand that I was actually a people pleaser. So I began to read and research more into this concept. I also became more introspective and I was amazed at how much of a people pleaser I was. I realized how much I was cheating myself just to get married to people's convictions. It then dawned on me that being nice at the expense of being true is not wisdom, and avoiding conflict doesn't necessarily bring peace. It was this realization that fueled my desire to quit people pleasing. I remember that before then, I was terrified of being disliked, so I fell in love with molding myself into someone people liked. And truly, it wasn't out of fear, it was out of love. I strongly desired to be that person who could accommodate any and everyone, even if they were taking advantage of me. I didn't want to upset people, so I romanticized the idea of peace and harmony to the point where I would refuse to rock a boat even if it meant I would sink. I was excessively worried about what people thought about me or felt about whatever thing I was doing. I would preempt people's disapproval by observing their facial expressions and body language, and I'll quickly adjust to whatever thing they considered acceptable. I feared being misunderstood. I would over-apologize and over-explain for things that were not even my responsibility. There were so many instances where I had to exchange my interest for acceptance. I was too agreeable that even when things didn't make sense to me, I would agree to people's opinions just because I lacked the boldness to express my view in the face of an opposing view. Saying no was an uphill task. Although it was a two-letter word, it was too heavy for a tongue that had little resistance against people's expectations. I couldn't really stand up for myself. I struggled to set and reinforce boundaries because they made me feel guilty. I didn't like the idea of making people uncomfortable around me. I would laugh at jokes that upset me. I would take the blame even when I was clearly not at fault. I would make excuses for people when they mistreat me and even try to shield them from the consequences of their actions. I would say it's okay when it was not okay. I would say there is no problem when clearly hell has been let loose. I would say I'm fine when I'm being mistreated, and it was just an unending cycle of lies sandwiched between being nice and being considerate. A couple of weeks ago, I was thinking to myself and I started to make comparison between who I used to be and the person I am now, who is now able to draw and set clear boundaries and uphold them without feeling guilty and thinking too much about people's approvals. It was very clear to me, very clear, that I had made significant progress, and over the years I've gradually transitioned into someone I'm proud to say is now an ex-people pleaser. If you're still stuck in the web of people pleasing, just like I was a couple of years ago, you will need to change some of your mindset in order to break free. The first thing you need to understand is you cannot please people into loving you. Annie White puts it perfectly. She said, "You can't make someone love you by giving them more of what they already don't appreciate." As a people pleaser, you have a natural inclination to want to do and outdo yourself into people's good books. You often believe that if you do more of what people want you to do, or if you showcase more of what they want to see, then they will love you more, they will appreciate you more, or maybe at least they won't just reject you completely. So you live your life trying to appease, trying to show that you're valuable, that you're worthy of appreciation. But let me tell you, offering yourself on a platter will not fetch you the appreciation of those who don't value you. You will only make yourself prey to further manipulation. The second mindset you need to have is that saying no and expressing goodwill are not mutually exclusive. As a people pleaser, empathy is your superpower. but is also your problem. Because empathy is the reason you think that saying no to people means that you don't wish them well, or you don't love them, or you don't support them enough. So saying yes to everything becomes your escape from the mental torture of perceiving yourself as cruel and unkind. But I need you to understand that turning down a request you don't have the capacity to fulfill does not make you a disappointment. It only means you have a healthy amount of integrity to be honest about your abilities. Number 3 thing I need you to understand is that people pleasing actually shields you from truly experiencing and accepting love. As a people pleaser, you are skilled in stretching yourself thin to create spaces for people at the expense of your own safety. You're quick to adapt and fulfill the emotional needs of others, but you don't think it's okay for people to do the same for you. You hide your needs and expectations behind the doors of thoughtfulness, as if to say thoughtfulness means self-sabotage. You gallantly bear the weight of people's inadequacies, but you shy away from expressing your desire to be loved right for the sake of peace. Look, it's not a crime to tell people what makes sense to you. And if expressing your desire to be loved wholesomely threatens the peace of a relationship, then it's a sign that relationship is unhealthy. And what's the point of preserving something that is already spoiled? Unapologetically teach people how to treat you. 4th thing I need you to understand is that as someone who is on a journey to living more authentically, there's a tendency for you to become defensive, inconsiderate, or even mean, because all of a sudden you realize you've been living your entire life for people. But you shouldn't. Your default setting is to be nice and kind. So sculpting yourself into someone different because of the way people have treated you is the quickest way to live an unsatisfied life. What then is the solution? Boundaries. They help you to remain nice without being gullible and guide you on how to disagree without being confrontational. Boundaries show you how to be firm without being rigid, and they help you to still be pleasant without being a people pleaser. If you need help with boundaries, check out my video on signs that you lack personal boundary, as well as the video on how to set healthy personal boundaries. Thank you so much for watching. I would like to hear from you. What's your experience with people pleasing, and what steps are you taking to live more authentically? Please like this video if you found it helpful, and do well to subscribe to my channel. Join me on this channel and let's grow into a better version of ourselves, one video at a time. See you in my next video. Bye.